I get a notification too.
All right, let's see if we are streaming. Ooh, yeah, we're live. All right, everybody, welcome to this week's call. Sorry, to this month's call. We are on April. Sorry. We are on today's call with Nazim. We're going to talk about Firefox Profiler. So I'm going to share my screen and share a little bit information about what we're going to hear today. And then I'm going to pass it to Nazim, who is going to tell us all about Firefox Profiler, what it is. And he's going to also have an exciting demo for us. So before we dig in, my name is Kostadina. I'm a staff program manager in the community in Mozilla. And with me is Nazim Altinova, who is a software engineer, again in Mozilla Corporation on performance tools. And why we're doing this? Well, we are Mozilla community, and we really hope that you enjoy being with us. There is a little bit of everything that you can do. As long as you love the web and the mission, there are different opportunities from responsible AI to contribute to MD1 or if you love Mozilla products, you can go and give feedback and ideas on Mozilla Connect. You can find all about those opportunities on mozilla.org/contribute. And if you are interested in learning more about us, you can subscribe to our newsletter, the community.mozilla.org/newsletter. We also have a matrix room, matrix rooms. So if you want to hang out with other community members, feel free to join the chat rooms, and always remember that we have community participation guidelines. We welcome everybody, no matter of their background and sexual orientation, and we also want to make sure that this is a safe space, so we don't tolerate people that they are offending each other. We are very happy that you are watching this call, and I'm going to stop now sharing my screen and pass it to Nazim, who is also a fellow Berliner, who is going to walk us through Firefox Profiler. Nazim, over to you.
Thanks, Konstantina. So yeah, let me share my screen as well, and let's get started. Can you see my screen? Yeah, great, awesome. So thanks for the introduction, and hi everyone again. And today I will be talking about the new features that we have in the Firefox Profiler. So yeah, firstly, I will be giving a brief introduction into the profilers, and then about the Firefox Profiler and give a demo. Then I will move on to the importers that we have and other tools that use the Firefox Profiler. Lastly, I will talk about the new features and UI improvements that we've made, like power profiling, source code view, and inline call stacks, and many more. So firstly, Firefox Profiler is essentially a website. You can find it in profiler.firefox.com, and our source code is stored in GitHub. If you're curious about it, if you'd like to take a look, you can check our repository here. And let's talk about what a profiler is first. A profiler is essentially a tool that helps developers to analyze performance issues, and it gives them insight into how their application works. There are various types of profilers, like event-based profilers or statistical profilers, but I'm not going to get into the details of all of them. We will focus on what the Firefox Profiler is and what it does. So yeah, what is the Firefox Profiler then? So Firefox Profiler is a statistical profiler that uses sampling as its main data source. It pauses the execution of Firefox in a determined interval to sample the call stacks of each thread. So these call stacks can include frames from both JavaScript and native code. Then Firefox Profiler aggregates these samples to show you an overview of the execution. So in addition to sampling, we have markers as a data source too, but I will talk about them later. So here's a screenshot of the Firefox Profiler analysis view. I know it can be a bit intimidating at first, but it will get a lot better, or you will get a lot better once you use it more and more and once you get used to it. So first, I want to stop sharing my presentation and I want to do a demo, because I want to show you how to capture a profile and how to analyze it. Let's take a look. I guess you should be able to see my Firefox now. And first, what we need to do is to go into the profiler.firefox.com. So this is our website and this is the homepage. As you can see in this button here, we have a button called Enable Profiler Menu button. Once you click on this, a new panel will appear on the top right corner of your Firefox. And this is the analysis, like capturing UI that we have. So you can click on these settings and we have a bunch of presets like web developer, graphics, media, or power. You can select any of them. The default is nightly, or if you're on release, it's going to be Firefox. And then you can either press start recording, and then you can capture or discard the recording. So this is the UI, but also we have this button here. So instead of this arrow, you can directly click to start and then click again to capture. On top of that, we also have shortcuts. As you can see here, we have Control-Shift-1 to start Profiler. So I can click on that. And when I press, it will start. And again, we have this Control-Shift-2 to capture it. So for example, I'm here and I press Control-Shift-2 and it will automatically capture the profile for you. So this is the analysis view, and let's capture a profile, a useful profile this time. I want to go to cnn.com and then profile the page load of cnn.com, and we can see more details on that. For example, firstly, I enter my URL, and since I'm going to profile the page load, I'm going to enter, but first I need to start profiling. So I start with my keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-1, and then I press enter, and we loaded the web page. After we are done doing all the STR, then we press again to Control-Shift-2 this time to capture a profile. This is it. Now we captured the profile, and we can get to the analysis view and we can analyze our profile data. So as you can see, there are lots of things going on right now. So I'm gonna try to dissect all these components and try to explain them. So when you start capturing, you will see this at the top panel. This is the timeline component that we have. So we have a bunch of tracks that you can see. And for example, this is web extensions that I don't want to profile it, so I hide this process. And I want to focus on parent process and cnn.com since I'm profiling cnn.com. And also, we have other processes here if you press on this button, but they're hidden by default because there are not a lot of activity on them. And right now, I see a lot of activity. So these graphs this graph especially is called activity graph. It shows the activity that is happening. So I can see that here there are a lot of activity in cnn.com. So I select a range and then I click on the magnifier button to zoom into this area. So now previously it was 12 seconds of a profile, and now it's 1.4 seconds. So I zoomed into that range. And now, if you look at this area, so we have screenshots as well, and you can see what type of things are happening at a certain time. So you can see that the page load ends at this time. So it's super useful when you need to look at some certain areas, or when you need to figure out what is happening at a certain time. So, and since this is the timeline, you can see the time at the top. And also, we have some markers here. So you can hover over any marker to see how long they take, or about their descriptions or more information. You can get more information for them. And when you can also hover over these activity graphs, and they give you CPU usage at that time, and category, and also stack. So each category has different colors. For this, JavaScript is yellow. And here layout is purple. And you can see, you can get a sense of what is happening here. You can see a lot of yellow. It means that there are lots of JavaScript happening here. So you can go down. So once you're content with this area and you would like to get into the details or analyze more, you need to take a look at the bottom panel now. Bottom panel has like a few tabs called call tree, flame graph, stack chart, marker table, and network. So we have, so the first three, call tree, flame graph, and stack chart, are the same data structure called call tree data type, and we visualize them differently. For these two, marker chart and marker table, we also have one data type called markers, and we visualize them differently. And also we have more information about network, like you can get more information, what type of things are being downloaded or being pulled from CNN.com. So when you look at the call tree, you will see that it starts with root and goes down. So you can try to analyze like how many samples, like 23% is spent in this function. So if you feel like this is too much, maybe you can try to analyze it, or you can try to look at the code after. Also, flame graph shows you a visualization of the same data. And you can see, for example, like this promise callback is taking 10%. So then you can try to see why it's taking that long and maybe try to understand the reason behind it. Also, we have the stack chart. So these are pretty much similar if you look at them. There are two main differences. One is this is bottom to top. It means that it starts from the bottom, the root is at the bottom and then goes to top. And at the stack chart, it's top to bottom. It starts from top and goes down. But the most important difference is that the x-axis you see here is time. On flame graph, it's nothing. We just aggregate everything. But here, it is time. So it's very similar to this activity graph that you see. For example, when you click on here, let's go down. We click on here, you will see that this area is being highlighted. So they correspond to the same areas. So this is the x-axis is always time. And for marker charts, we have lots of significant events that are happening inside Firefox. So we add markers for each events that we find or we think that are important. For example, here we have some time to first interactive or CSS animation. And when you hover over them again, you will see more information about them. So we add them individually in our source code. And also in marker table, this is the same data, but you will see the more information on the sidebar, and it's the table version. And as I said, network is the network requests that are happening. So this is about, so the bottom panel is all about analysis. But if you don't know how to analyze, or if you have some questions, you can always share the profile data with others. For example, with your colleagues or with a friend. To be able to do that, you can go click on this upload local profile button. And also, by the way, for example, if your Firefox is slow and you would like to file a bug in our Bugzilla, in our bug tracker, you can also capture a profile and share with us, which helps us understand your problem. So either you can download the data as JSON here. After, you can also change some PII, some information. You can choose not to share your URLs maybe. Then after, you can press upload. So what it does is it uploads that to our servers. And after it finishes, it will give you a URL, the short URL that you can share with other people. And you can just paste it anywhere. And once other person opens it, they will see the same view as you. For example, this is the 1.4%. You exactly see the same one here. So this is a great way of sharing your profiles with someone else. So this was all about the demo. I showed you how to profile it and how to analyze. Of course, there are a lot more things to discuss for analyzing, but it could be too long. So this is all the UI tour. So I will go back to our presentation now.
Nazim,
Right.
before we
Sorry,
continue, no worries. Before we continue, we have a question actually that came in the beginning. You mentioned about Android and desktop, like about the profiler, and somebody asks, coming same time to Android, not first a desktop?
Sorry, what's the question again? I couldn't.
They are asking coming same time to Android, not first a desktop.
Not. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, we have a version for Android as well, actually. So you can also use that for Android. So it's both. It works both for Android and desktop. Is that the question?
I'm not sure. So Jonas, who asked, can you please clarify your question if that was answered, or did you mean something else?
Yeah. Great.
Thanks, Nazim.
So yeah, we have a documentation about how you can capture profile data in Android as well. If you're curious, you can go to our webpage, profile.firefox.com, and there is a documentation button. You can go there, and there you will see the documentation about how to capture a profile from Android. You can either do a remote profiling with using your desktop to connect to your Android phone, or you can capture directly inside your Android phone and share the link with others after, so or with yourself in your desktop.
Cool. We actually have another question, a follow-up. Why do we have to enable Start the Profiler from the Profiler website? What to do when offline or a profile local host sites? Actually, can we do that?
Yeah, the thing is, you need to enable the profile data to just see that pop up or to see that profiler menu button. So it doesn't enable the profiler itself. You can also use DevTools panel to profile as well. This is the same one. I will actually talk about that later. So we also added that to DevTools panel. So you can also use DevTools panel to profile, but I would I would recommend you to use the pop-up because of some things that I will talk later. So for other thing, what was the second question? I think there was another.
What happens when you are offline or profile local host sites?
So you can profile your local websites, that's totally fine. But for the profiler analysis view, so you need to load it once. Where, for example, when you go here to the profiler website to enable the menu button, it will cache the source code of this website. So, and it will fire up a service worker. And even if you're offline, you can use this website. But you need to visit once, and after visiting once, that's okay. You can continue offline. Okay, so let's continue then. And about the introduction of the Firefox Profiler, I will not get into the details of everything, as I said, like all the important parts about introduction. So our colleague Julian actually gave a talk at FOSDEM about the introduction to the Firefox Profiler. If you are curious about it, I definitely recommend you to check that out as well. And next up, I will talk about the importers. Importers are the pieces of converters that we've implemented for some profile data formats. So the Firefox Profiler can load them without any extra steps. Currently, we have 4 main importers: Chrome's trace event format, Linux perf script, ART trace, and dhat. So ART trace is for Android as well. So if you're, for example, profile another application, you can also import it to Firefox Profiler. And it goes same for Chrome's profiler. For example, let's say that you profile something in Chrome, and you can just save the file. And all you need to do is go to the Firefox Profiler website and drag and drop that data file. And then it will automatically open up, load everything and open up for you. And with these importers, Firefox Profiler becomes like a general purpose profiler analysis view for you, because it doesn't only support Firefox, but also other types of profile data formats. And as I said, all you need to do is to just drag and drop the file into Firefox Profiler. And also here, you can see an example clip of how seamless this is. Like I just dragged and dropped and it's done. So this is a Chrome example. You can see the screenshots, you can see the tracks there, and you can, at the bottom, you can see the call tree. And also on top of these importers, our colleague Jeff Muesler wrote an ETW importer. So ETW means event tracing for Windows. And as its name suggests, it's an event tracing profiler for Windows. And you can also use this to just load up the profile data in our website. But it's not actually, the source code is not inside the Firefox Profiler. So you need to use this link to convert your profile data before dragging and dropping. And let's see which other tools are used in the Firefox Profiler. First, we have Java JFR Profiler. It is an IntelliJ plugin to easily profile your application and view JFR files directly in your IDE. It's implemented by Johannes Bechberger from SAP, and he's been also contributing to the Firefox Profiler for quite some time now. And JFR, in case you don't know, is a Java profiler, and it's very powerful, but it didn't have a very good UI, and Johannes decided to create a UI for its use in Java, using Firefox Profiler. So you can check the plugin website here. Also, he gave a talk at FOSDEM about his experience of implementing this importer. His talk is called Firefox Profiler Beyond the Web, and I definitely recommend you to check that out as well. Next tool is Semply. Semply is created by our awesome colleague, Markus Stenge, and he's been actively working on the Firefox Profiler for quite some time too, and he wanted to create a command line tool for sampling Profiler. It supports Linux and Mac OS, and it's super useful when you need to you need a native profiler, and it's written in Rust. So all you need to do is simply run cargo install Semply, and it will install that tool for you. And once you capture a profile, it will open up the analysis view in Firefox Profiler as well. You can check that repository in this link if you're curious. And next, last tool is Function Trace. It's implemented by Matt Bryant, and it is a Python profiler that opens up the Firefox Profile analysis view. So it's similar to the Java version, but you can check the their website if you're curious, and if you are spending some time profiling Python, and yeah, you can try it out. Now let's talk about the new features and UI improvements that we've made in the Firefox Profiler recently. First, we have the power profiling. So if you go into the settings of Firefox Profiler, as I shown you before in that panel, you will see a preset called Power, and you can see this you can set this to use the profiler on low overhead mode to investigate any issues related to power, like investigate power usage issues. For example, after you select this preset and after you profile with it, in the analysis view, you will see this additional power tracks for each processes. And this will show you how much power that process was using at that point in time. Also, you can select a duration to see the energy used in that selection. So this data is very important because you can understand what is using a lot of energy, either in Firefox or in your website, and then you can try to reduce it. So this helps like with battery life and with performance, as well as it reduces the laptop temperature and fan noise, and more importantly, it makes your website more sustainable. And also we have estimated CO2 emission information in the tooltips. So you can see the impact of your actions. Like this, also huge thanks to Chris Adams and Farshad from the Green Web Foundation for implementing this feature. And now you can see as this pic, as you can see in this picture, you can see how much CO2 is emission that duration has. Also, I'm sure that I missed a lot of cool details about this feature, but again, another colleague of mine, Florian, actually gave a talk about this already, about power profiling. So also at FOSDEM. So if you're curious about power profiling and if you want to learn more about it, I recommend you to check this talk as well. Next, we have another big feature, source code view and inline call stacks. So in this screenshot, you can see both the inline call stacks and the source code view. And if you look at the selected row here, you will see an inline icon to show you that this is an inline call stack. So usually compilers like optimize some functions by inlining them to their callers. It means that when this happens, it becomes a bit harder for us to see because before we had no idea about these inline call stacks, but now we can actually see them properly and they are being marked as inline too. Also at the bottom, you can see the source code of this call node. You double click. So once you double click on any frame, this panel will pop up and it will show you the source code of that line. And you can see that function, you can learn more about it, you can try to understand it, and yeah, you can, if there's a problem, you can fix it, but essentially it gives you more insight. Also, you can use this context menu item. When you right-click on a frame, you will see this show file name, and you can click on that to show the bottom source code view too. And now this is about the DevTools performance panel. So as I mentioned before, as well as the pop-up at the top right corner, we also have a profiler inside the DevTools, developer tools. So if you open up the developer tools and if you go to the performance tab, you will see this one. And it's essentially the same thing with our pop-up, but so we had an older version of the performance panel here before, so we replace it with our new tool. So now it's the same experience, but there's one thing to keep in mind, because this is the thing that I didn't mention before. So when you open up a DevTool panel, it actually creates some overhead in Firefox because it collects more data. It tries to get more information from that website. So it brings some overhead when you open the developer tools. That's why if you open the DevTools for profiling, your profile data can be skewed a little bit. That's why I prefer, or I recommend you to use the pop-up instead. But if you really want to use it, why not? You can just use this one too. It's a matter of preference as well. And this one is about marker chart. So we improved our marker chart, but let me explain briefly about some markers first. So I gave some remarks as well previously, but markers are essentially some significant events that are happening inside Firefox. But it can be also, it doesn't necessarily have to be an event from Firefox. You can also add your events yourself by using some JavaScript APIs. And these are called performance.mark and performance.measure. So if you use those performance APIs in JavaScript, you can actually add some markers yourself too, and then it will show up in the profiler as well. And so also so markers can be either point in time, like just a single point in time, or a duration. And yeah, I will also talk about them in the next slide. But so we made two big improvements in marker chart. One is the performance improvement. Now it renders a lot smoothly, and also it's easier when you're scrolling. And second improvement is that we changed how we were drawing the markers in this chart. Let's take a closer look in the next slide. So here you can see different types of markers. We have two types essentially. One with the diamond shape, it means instant markers. If you see a diamond shape, it always means instant time, and it doesn't have a duration, it doesn't have a start and end, it only has one time. On the other hand, if you look at these squares or rectangles, they are duration markers. They are the second type. And that means that they have one start and one end time, and they always have a duration because of that. So if that rectangle is shorter, it means that this is a short or quick event. If it is longer, it means that that event actually took longer, depending on the event type. But that can also give you some ideas about, for example, if an event that should take shorter takes actually longer, then you can see, oh wait, then I should probably look and investigate more on this. You can say that type of things. So this is how we change the marker chart. And also another feature that we've added is one-click profiling on Task Manager. Task Manager is also called About Processes. But when you go to About Processes, we have a bunch of processes that Firefox has. And on the right side, you can see the memory usage and CPU usage for each process and thread. And also on the right side of each title of that process, now we have another button for profiling. Once you click on that button, it will essentially start the profiler, and it will profile that whole process for 5 seconds. And then after 5 seconds, it will open up the Firefox Profiler analysis view. This is very useful, for example, when you see that a process is taking very big amount of memory, or it's taking a lot of CPU. Then you can say, oh wait, what's happening here? And then you can immediately start profiling, and then you can start analyzing the issue quickly. And here's a short clip of how this workflow works. You can see we go to the task manager, and you see the process that you want, and you press, wait for 5 seconds, and then it will open up the Firefox Profiler with the whole process. It only profiles that single process, so you will only see that one with an isolated view. And next one is selecting multiple tracks. And so when you're looking at a profile, sometimes some markers could be spread into different threads. Or for example, here we have a worker threads that has, like, for example, a lot of them, and it can be a bit hard to understand which one has some activity or has some markers. On the other hand, if you look at the renderer here, it's like you can see clearly that there are some activity, but it's not easy to understand here. That's why you can select multiple tracks by using Control and click or Shift click, and then at the bottom panel you will see all the data, all markers and samples in together. And also we've improved the track selection list on here. Previously, so we didn't have the search bar, so we added search because with Fission project especially, Firefox started to have a lot more processes, and because of that, this list became a lot longer. So, and it became harder to find the process that you are interested in. So that's why we added this search, and also when you can double click on a process to automatically open up all of its children. And also we added 2 new transforms. So let me explain what a transform is first. So we have, as I told you before, we have a data structure called call tree. And that call tree is very useful for analyzing the performance, but sometimes you would like to like transform that whole tree into another by just applying some predefined actions. So these transforms are exactly that. You apply some predefined actions and you make it easier for yourself to see the issue or see the problem. And also we added this focus on category. So previously we had transforms like merge function, merge call node only, or focus on function. So this is focus on category, and it's actually implemented by Johannes from SAP. And so it's a lot of thanks to him. We have now this one, and you can click on, for example, you would like to just focus on DOM category. You can click on that and other samples are going to disappear and you will only see the frames that have the DOM category. So, and the next one is about collapsing indirect recursion. This is also implemented by our contributor, Simo-san. So thanks a lot to them. We have this one now, and we had collapsed direct recursion before, but not the indirect one. Now we have this too, and it makes it a lot more versatile. And also, we localized the Firefox Profiler analysis view. Thanks to our outreach intern, Hasna Henamo. So she worked on the internationalization project, and we have now more than 15 languages, and there are more to come. Also, of course, thanks to our volunteer localizers who spend their time localizing the profiler into their languages. And since we have more locales, we added a locale picker at the bottom right corner. So let's say that your Firefox is in French, but you would like to see the profiler in English, then you can change it to another locale and to English, and you can continue quickly. And we added another feature called no periodic stack sampling. So this feature disables the interval-based stack sampling that I mentioned before. And by doing that, it reduces the overhead of the profiler significantly. And it collects only marker data, and it shows your only markers, of course. But let's say that you don't find, for that specific case, you don't find the samples that useful, and you feel like markers are enough, then you can use this, and you can just disable it, and you can have a very minimal overhead, and you can still see what is happening inside Firefox. So, by the way, this page that you're seeing is called About Profiling. So I didn't show you yet, but you can, in the pop-up, there is a link called Customize Settings. You can go to Customize, and this is the one. Or you can just type About Profiling, and you will see that website. And lastly, we have the documentation changes. So we had a documentation before, but that was outdated because of the recent changes in recent years. Now we refreshed the documentation that we have to better match what has changed. And if you are new to the Firefox Profiler, you can use that link to find our documentation, and you can learn more about it. We have the UI tour, we have more information about what a stack sampling is, and what is a profiler, and you can learn more about profilers and Firefox Profiler overall. Or maybe you can share it with your friends, colleagues as well, if you find it useful. And yeah, that was pretty much it for my presentation. Thank you a lot for listening, and you can find, as I shown you in the previous slide, you can see the profiler documentation in this link. And you can also see the slides, find the slides in the link below. Also, we have a QR code, so you can quickly scan and find the slides. And lastly, we have a matrix channel for our project. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, if you just want to ask questions, or if you want to say or give feedback, just please don't hesitate. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you
I
very much,
can.
Nazim.
Sure.
We have two more questions for you that came up on the chat while you were describing. Firstly, thank you a lot for taking the time and explaining Firefox Profiler, and I always enjoy demos. They can go wrong, but they're always fun to watch. So the first one is that, is a profiler something for devs or end users?
So it depends on what you mean by end users, because mostly devs, yes. But so Firefox Profiler was born essentially to help Firefox engineers to make Firefox itself faster. But then it evolved into something more, and we made it a lot easier for our web developers to also use the Firefox Profiler to improve their websites, improve their performance, find bugs. Also, Firefox Profiler, I mentioned mostly about the performance, but Firefox Profiler is not about performance only. It's also about finding bugs, debugging, and finding some or making some hard to reproduce bugs more visible to other people. So if you would like to analyze the performance data, then I assume that you're either a web developer or a Firefox developer, but you can still use it if you are still a end user. So in which case, let's say that Firefox is very slow for some particular case as an end user to you, and you would like to file a bug, and then you can just start the profiler and then do the thing that you feel slow. For example, a web page loads slowly, or when you click on a button, it takes time to interact or to appear something. You can do that interaction and then capture the data and then share either with us or with the web developers that you see this performance slowness to, and you can just file a bug and we can start analyzing the issue for you and fix the issue and make your experience better. So even if you are just if you're not a web developer or Firefox developer, you can still use it.
Thank you, Nazim. And one last question. Does Mozilla collect data about all the profiling sessions or only the shared by user ones?
So if you capture a profile and then if you don't upload it, we don't collect any data about that. So it's just local. It's stored in your browser session also. So when you close that tab, you will lose it if you don't upload it or download it to your machine before. But let's say that you don't want to share your profile with others. You can just not upload that data and download as a JSON file to your hard drive instead. And yeah, you can still keep it for some other time. So once you upload it, we of course have to send that data to our server, but we don't actually like do any bisection, or we don't look at your data specifically. It's just stored in our storage, and then when somebody else loads that, have that link, they can access it, but they have to have that URL. Otherwise, they won't be able to access that data.
We have a new question. You're famous, Nazim. Is Firefox on iPad same as on desktop or Android? Can we profile Firefox app on iPad?
Good question, yeah. Unfortunately, Firefox on iPad is not the same. Firefox on iOS, or yeah, not only iPad, also on iPhone. So we don't use the same engine as others, like our web desktop or our Android devices, because of the limitations set by Apple. So that is So I think they were trying to make it fixed, and there were some even people were fighting for this, and I think they will make it available in the future. But since right now, Apple still don't want any other browser engines inside iOS platform, we just can't add it. And until then, it's not the same. And because of that, we don't have Firefox Profiler for iOS, unfortunately. So Firefox engine is called Gecko, and Gecko, when we can publish a Firefox with Gecko, then we will be able to use Firefox Profiler inside there as well. Until then, we have to stick with what Apple provides to us, which is just a web view, unfortunately. So, and it uses Safari's engine behind, but that's the same for Chrome on iOS or any other browsers. So, does
All
that
right,
answer?
thank you very much. Yeah, I believe so. I don't see any other questions, so I'm gonna say thank you everybody for participating in today's call. Thank you so much, Nazim, for coming and presenting. We will love to see you again in the future if you have any interesting news that you would like to share with us. We will resume this call. We'll have another call on May, so stay tuned. We will tweet about it for the exact dates. And until then, keep on rocking the free web. We have a cool thanks from the chat. Sorry, I wanted to check if we had the last question. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week and great day, and have fun.
Yeah.